What's going on, guys? It's Greg here. Just wanted to do a quick video about martial law and EROL, excessive rule of law. So basically, martial law is something that's happened many times throughout history. It's happened, in communist countries, in third world countries, a lot of dictatorships. The dictators, they impose martial law to control the population. That's basically what it is, in a nutshell. Basically the person, the government that's in power, or the person in power, they want to control the population for whatever reason. And so that's basically where we get martial law from. Now, in the United States here, our government is going to try to, wrap up martial law into a little, with a bow. They're going to try to wrap it up with a bow and say, oh, it's not martial law, it's a state of emergency, or it's necessary to protect, and for security reasons we have to impose martial law for security, to keep the peace and everything like that. And they're going to wrap it up in a nice little bow so it doesn't sound as offensive, it doesn't sound as hardcore as martial law. They're gonna call it like they call it state of emergency. A state of emergency is basically, like basically a form of martial law, because it's illegal for you to go out on the highways or on the roads. If there's like a snowstorm, they declare state of emergency. It's illegal for you to go on the roads. That's a form of martial law. Now, our government is never gonna tell you, yeah, we're trying to control you. They're just gonna try to say that they're doing it for security reasons. That they have to impose curfews, that they're gonna have to control certain areas with police and military. They're gonna have to control supermarkets, gas stations, and critical infrastructure, hospitals, etc., etc., bridges, major roads. They're going to be all under control by the authorities, and they're going to try to make it seem like they're doing it for your benefit, and many times it is for your benefit. But in this video, I want to talk about malicious martial law, which is martial law that's declared with the intention of controlling the population for bad reasons. I'm a libertarian, so I don't really believe that martial law should ever really be declared at all, or even even states of emergencies. I feel that those are basically intruding on our civil liberties. I mean, the government doesn't have a right to tell people you can't go on the road. I mean, that's just that to me, that's just kind of crazy. But obviously everybody has different opinion on it. Now, law enforcement is necessary. You have to have some rule of law. Obviously, you can't have no rule of law. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can have rule of law and have good law enforcement and enforce good laws without, trampling on people's freedoms. And we've seen this in Boston. After the Boston Marathon bombing, the Boston police were going door to door and just searching people's houses. I heard that they were confiscating weapons as well. I mean, what right do they have to do that? Just because there's a potential for a terrorist to be somewhere, that they can just go search like a whole area wherever they want, and they have the freedom to just search everything that they want and hassle people and intrude on people's lives, just because that there's a potential that there could be a terrorist in the whole city. I mean, that's ridiculous. They should, if they have an area narrowed down that they think that the terrorist is in like one specific neighborhood, that I could understand, but it has to be done in a way that, you're not intruding on people's freedoms. You obviously want to get the bad guy, but what's the point of getting the bad guy but intruding on people's freedoms and hassling people? That's almost counterproductive. So, and I think that, for the most part, most police and military, they obviously they do what they do because they want to protect people. They love the country. They're not doing it for power, and stuff like that. But there are some people in those positions. I know people that get off on having power, and they like it. And they like the power that comes with those types of jobs. And I believe that certain leadership roles in the military and in the law enforcement, that they could potentially manipulate their troops and manipulate police officers against the public, because many times, there's a tight bond between the general and his troops, or between a sheriff and his deputies. They trust each other, they respect each other in most cases. And there could be, for example, a local sheriff that he may gain the trust of his officers so much, and he could throw them extra overtime shifts. And that's typically what they do. They give the officers extra overtime, and next thing you know, the officers love the sheriff, because they're getting overtime, they're getting the best shifts, whatever, and then what he's going to do is he's going to use that to his advantage to control the public, and do things that are nefarious, like confiscating weapons. So don't think that it could never happen, because it has happened. It happened in New Orleans. I think that gun confiscation is something that could happen after a major disaster, SHTF situation. They could easily confiscate weapons. Like, for example, in New York State, the pistol permits say right on the pistol that the pistol permit can be revoked at any time. So all they got to do is they got to look up the list of pistol permit holders. Then they can go to everybody's house. They don't even have to do that. They could just say that all pistol permits are going to be revoked at such and such time, and you have to turn in your pistol. And if you don't do that, you're committing a felony, because you're illegally possessing a firearm. And that's something that I think could happen, especially in the more liberal states like New York, where I live. They could say, listen, there's a state of emergency. We had a major terrorist attack, or whatever. There's a power grid failure. The power's not coming back on for another 2 months, and we gotta, for your safety, we're gonna have to confiscate weapons. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. What do you guys think about this? You think it's something that could happen? I'm not talking about nationwide gun confiscation. I don't see that happening, at least not in the foreseeable future. But I think on a local level, it's possible, or if there's like a major terrorist attack or some type of, regional grid down situation, or EMP. I think if there was an EMP, we could definitely see, gun confiscation happen. So, it's something you want to think about, keep that in the back of your mind, because it's definitely a possibility. I'm not saying that it's a great chance, but it's a small chance. But, it's something to think about. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.